Welcome to the Cosmic Busker. My name is Bobby Cody. This next video is going to be the final installment of my series Ancient Mars Civilization, A Timeline of Discovery. This one is part 5. I'd like to open it up with a story. It's a personal story. I think you may find it interesting if you're interested in synchronicity in that process. It pretty much blew my mind when it happened to me. It was in 1996, and a good friend of mine, he's in one of my memoirs, I'll call him Rocco, which is the name I use for him in the books, I should say. He and his mother and sister were going to the Rosie O'Donnell show in New York City. We lived in West Orange, New Jersey at the time, right outside of New York City. He didn't want to show up there with his mother and sister. He asked me, please, would you go with me? I don't want to go there, just my mom and sister. I says, yeah, no problem. Sure, I'd love to go with you. So the four of us headed in to the Rosie O'Donnell show. Now, I had been interested in the work of Richard Hoagland, very interested, and I really wanted to meet with him. I had purchased his books and many of his works, and in one of his pamphlets, I believe it was, I saw that they had an address in Weehawken, New Jersey, which is right across the Hudson River from Manhattan. So there's an address to it. You see, you know what, I want to stop in there and I want to talk to him, see if I can end up meeting with Richard Hoagland and talking to him. So that was my plan, was to go into Manhattan, go to the Rosie O'Donnell show, and right after that I was going to go to this address to see if I could hook up with Richard Hoagland and speak with him. So we went to the Rosie O'Donnell show, and we're seated. They actually seated me and my friend Rocco separately, so I was sitting alone in the stands with strangers around me. And near the end of the show, they had Buzz Aldrin on the show. Now, he didn't interview at all in the show. There was no interview, and from what my understanding was, after the show, that they didn't even show what we saw of Buzz Aldrin on the show. He was there to promote his book. They didn't interview him. When I was there, they didn't interview him. He just showed up. He came out on stage. He said to us, the seated audience, he said, "Hey everybody, I want you to know that I have this book out. It's called Return to Tiber. I'm going to provide a link and a graphic of the book up there so you can take a look at it." He said, this is a science fiction book. He said, but I want to tell you something. There's a lot of reality in this book. So I was like, wow. That's pretty intense. It turned out the book is about the Sumerian civilization. It's the first known civilization. And the book is about aliens, essentially, that had provided humankind with the knowledge of civilization. So this first civilization, human civilization, 6,000 years ago, about 4,000 BC it was started, was provided the rudiments of civilization by some extraterrestrial species. That was the basis of the book, and he's saying, there's a lot of reality in this. Well, wow, that's pretty intense. Buzz Aldrin is the second man on the moon, Apollo 11 astronaut, first guy up there with Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong was the first one to set foot on the moon. Buzz Aldrin jumped out right after him. Buzz Aldrin was the second man on the moon. In another piece of synchronicity, it just so happens that I'm currently living in Montclair, New Jersey right now. Montclair, New Jersey is where Buzz Aldrin was from. He's from Montclair, New Jersey. So there's a little bit of tie-in synchronicity with the present as well, although this happened back in 1996. So that was pretty intense for me at the time. I was like, wow, I'm seeing Richard Hoagland, which kind of ties in with Mars and everything, and there was a civilization on Mars. That's very strange, So I'm going to have to cut out for a moment. I have a timer on here. It only allows me to record for a certain amount of time. Then I'm going to continue the story with the Richard Hoagland aspect of it. So I head to Richard Hoagland's um, address in Weehawken, and I had no idea what it would be. The internet was still in its infancy, so there was no Google Maps or anything. I really didn't. I looked at a map on how to get to the location where I was going, but you know, it was done all from memory. I didn't have the ability to print it out or anything, so I was basically on my own trying to figure out how I got there. After the show, I went from Manhattan over to Weehawken. I got off the bus in Weehawken, didn't know where to go. So I see a policeman sitting right essentially on the riverfront. There's a road that runs right along the riverfront. So I walk up to the policeman sitting in his car. Say, "Excuse me, officer, how you doing? Just got off the bus from Manhattan. I'm looking for an address. Can you tell me how to go to blah 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 address?" Policeman looks at me, says, "Sure. Get in the car. I'll drive you there." I was like, "Wow, thanks." It was very bizarre and strange to me. At that point, I was worried how I was going to find the place, and this isn't Mayberry. This is Weehawken, New Jersey. Police just don't offer you to jump in their car and give you a ride somewhere. So that was just bizarre to me. So, sure enough, a policeman drives me to the address, and I didn't know what it was going to be. I thought maybe an office building, an office or something. It was a tiny little home overlooking the Manhattan skyline at the end of the dead-end road. So I pull up in the police car, I get out, and I knock on what essentially must have been Richard Hoagland's home. He comes to the door, and it makes me wonder if he actually saw the policeman drive up and drop me off, and what kind of thought was in his mind as he saw me get it out of a police car. He might have thought I was some CIA agent or an investigator or something bizarre like that. It was just synchronistic and coincidental. I tell this story in my first memoir, The New Lane, out 2003, 2004. So it's a small part of the book, a little excerpt in the book. I'll provide a link to that if you'd like to read the book in full. I'll provide a link actually to a video I did about it. In that video I talk about the two books that I've written, The New Lane, which is my 2003-2004 memoir, and my second memoir called Mommy Issues. It's kind of a comedy traumatic drama memoir. I wrote that one in 2012. That one's for free. So if you click on that video link that I provided you, you can download the second book for free. The New Lane is only available for purchase, however. So that's essentially my story. It was very bizarre, strange to me. The set of circumstances all seem to be interconnected, from the Sumerian civilization being the product of extraterrestrial invention, and Buzz Aldrin being there saying there's a lot of reality in this book, and then I'm going to see somebody who's, a researcher regarding ancient Mars civilizations and the face on Mars. It was all kind of tied in together. It really blew my mind at the time. All right, what I'd like to do now, I'm going to finish up my series here with the Curiosity rover. And the Curiosity rover it took off from the Earth in 2011, landed on Mars in 2012, and it landed in what was called Gale crater. To me and to people who have been following this intimately and know, this kind of represented an interesting switch, because this Gale crater area, while NASA never acknowledged it, this area is almost certainly an area that is or was a part of an ancient Mars civilization. They didn't go to Cydonia and see the face on Mars, but they went somewhere almost as interesting. So I'm going to cut to a little graphic of Gale crater and explain why we think that this was once part of an ancient Martian civilization, and it's pretty apparent when you see the graphic. So I'm going to cut across to that right now. So here we have an image of Gale crater on Mars, taken right from the NASA website. Link will be provided below in the description. What makes this area so unique is that this is a crater, and the crater should be flattened down. The crater is presumably caused by an asteroid or comet smashing into the planet Mars, and it flattens everything out in the area, thus it's a crater. But as you can see in this image, Gale crater has a large mountain rising out of the middle of it, which is very strange. NASA has termed this mountain Mount Sharp, and we think this is a turning point in NASA's willingness to investigate evidence of a possible ancient Mars civilization that got destroyed. The hypothesis that me and many others had going in was that Mount Sharp wasn't a natural object, it was a structure. An artificially created structure that was destroyed when all life in Martian civilization was destroyed in a cataclysm. So first you come up with your hypothesis, and with your hypothesis you predict what you will expect to find based on your hypothesis. So once Curiosity rover landed in Gale crater, I expected to find remnants of Martian civilization. I told everyone ahead of time of this on Facebook, and I told them I would be downloading the daily pictures from the Curiosity rover and analyzing them. And sure enough, I found mounds of evidence that there was an ancient civilization on Mars. Now, when I downloaded these Curiosity rover photos, I found dozens and dozens of structures, pyramids, a huge face statue, loads and loads and loads of evidence that this was not only a destroyed civilization, but this is a debris field littered with various aspects of an advanced civilization that existed on Mars. There are many websites on YouTube that you can see these structures and this evidence. I'm going to show you the ones that I personally found, that I found unique, that I haven't seen posted anywhere else. I'm going to finish off with the two best. Wait till you see these. They're just wow. You're not going to believe it when you see it, but it's very obvious when you see it. Unfortunately, due to my own personal circumstances of chaos in my life, I am not able to provide you the links to these. I can assure you I downloaded these directly from the NASA website. They can be ultimately found on the NASA website. It's pretty obvious that they are from the NASA website. I have no reason or means to deceive you. So I'm going to cut to these photos right now, and I think there's 5 I'm going to show you with quick descriptions of each of them. The last 2, wait till you see them. Wow. Let's cut to those right now. Here we have in front of us the mushroom on Mars that I found back in 2012. At the time, I wasn't sure if it was the remnants of a structure or perhaps a mushroom. Given the recent peer-reviewed scientific paper alleging mushrooms on Mars, I now weigh on the side that this is in fact a mushroom on Mars. If you're not familiar with that scientific paper, I'll give a link up in the corner up there so you can click on that video I did on mushrooms on Mars. Here's another one I found. It appears to be some type of sculpture or something on Mars. Size can be tough to gauge, but I figure this is about the size of maybe a suitcase. Looks like it's a sculpture that's weathered down or something. It certainly doesn't appear to me to be natural, with lots of symmetry and geometric structure to it. Sorry for the hazy view on this one, but if you look closely, it looks almost like a bowling ball with some type of clamp on it. There's no reason these photos should be so hazy. And we think NASA's doing a slow release where they kind of haze the picture a bit. It allows those who don't want to believe, in spite of the evidence, to continue not believing, despite the evidence. Next two objects I'm going to show are what I consider my crown jewels. You can take a look at this setter right there. I haven't seen anybody else who has found this particular object. It looks to me like a machine, but you can see it's very obviously artificial. What stands out most to me is that S shape right in the middle. I think that's some type of wiring or tubing in this machine. Also, if you look directly above and to the left of the machine, you can see what appears to be a box half buried in the dirt or soil. Once I found this object, my mission had been, I considered my mission complete. Hypothesis confirmed, ancient Mars civilization. Here's a bit of a close-up of that same machine. You can see that obvious S shape in the middle. Sorry for the haziness. That's NASA. Kudos to NASA, however, for at least going to this location and taking the photos and releasing them to the public, even if they are hazy photos. The next photo I'm going to show you is the wow photo that just blew me away. Wait till you see this one. This is a car on Mars. It's buried face forward in the soil, but that's a car. It's on an angle with the front of the car down, so you can't see the front, but you can see the top. Excuse me, the back angling up. You can see the wheel well where the wheel went. You can see the windows where they went. And I placed arrows there to make it very obvious what we're looking at. That's a car, partially buried in the soil. So, that's it. We have a synchronicity in the beginning of this video. It was 1996. I found that story, that experience fascinating. I don't think it is as much a fascinating story as it is a fascinating experience to live. But then obviously those Gale Curiosity, Gale Crater Curiosity rover photos. Those are just amazing to me when I found those. Like I said, there were hundreds of others I found pyramids, I found other kind of structures. They're on all different websites. You can find them on YouTube. I wanted to show you the specific ones that I found that I haven't seen displayed anywhere else. If anything else comes up in between, well, in the future, this is 2019, I think it's April 3rd, 2019. Yes, if anything happens in the near future, I'll add on to this, make it a part 6, but for right now, this is the ending of my Ancient Mars Civilization Timeline of Discovery series. Thanks everybody for watching. Any comments, pro or con, feel free to add a comment. I'll provide links to all 4 of the previous parts of this series down below. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.